Happy Dusk Till Dawn release day, everyone. So my excitement and focus in this set is a return to trying to get Ser Boltyn to work. Specifically, his Raydn build, I think, got a lot of support and a lot of potential in this set. Will it be enough? Honestly, I'm unclear on that right now, but in today's episode, our opening day episode, I wanted to share what I'm looking at early with Ser Boltyn. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, Flesh and Blood friends, and welcome back to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast. And you know what? Happy Dusk Till Dawn release day for those of you on the other side of the globe from where I am. You've probably already started ripping and tearing some of those packs, and you know, honestly, good luck. I hope somebody out there in the Dice Commando community rips one of those serialized cards and gets your one ring paid for. Not quite the same, but you pick up what I'm laying down. So yes, this season I've dusted off that Raydn box, and I'm very excited to get Boltyn on the table and try and make him work again. As many of you know, I put a lot of effort into him, and Monarch was very excited about him, and I just got frustrated with the way charging worked and how inefficient it was, and it wasn't working for me. But in celebration of the focus on trying to make Boltyn great again, what we're going to do is we're going to hang that Via the Vanguard mat back up. All right, so there he is in all of his glory, as well as some of the other mats, and we will leave him up. So that's a big deal for me, taking down some of my other mats that I've been very proud of over my career, but we're going to put him there, and he's going to stay there until he proves me otherwise. Let's put it that way. So anyway, enough of that. Let's get into today's talking Raydn focus. That's what I want to talk about is Raydn Boltyn. That's what I'm interested. The combo Lumina thing, it's not my jam. It's not my jam, right? I don't like playing combo decks, and I like consistency, and Raydn promised that, and I think that Raydn might be able to deliver. So let's talk the pops and drops, the cards I'm excited about, and the cards I'm not about around this new set, from this new set. Okay, the first one, I'm pretty confident this is the best Boltyn card in the new set, and that is Resounding Courage. Honestly, I can see the argument for playing a rainbow of this. The blue itself is pretty good. This card is really good. Focus on target light attack, not action card, not weapon card. 1 for 3, that's on curve now, sure. Boltyn likes to play a lower curve, right? He likes to work off 2s because yellows are a thing. I get it. But then you produce that Courage token, right? Courage token is all the rage with Boltyn. And no discussion around that. That card is super good to be able to come in or leave it on the table, start your Chane maybe with a +1, then they have to block, and then their life becomes hard. It's all about it. And this thing does everything you want it to do, except being free, but you got to be reasonable in what you ask for. This card is phenomenal. The next card, I feel like I didn't give enough. I could have spent like a whole episode around how great that card is, but y'all don't want to hear me just fanboy over this card. Card's phenomenal. I think there's an argument even to run the blue. I get it. You want to run yellows, blah, blah, blah. Ooh, card is really good. I mean, the blue actually has the most value out of it, right? Because all of them poop out the token, so the blue actually has the more value. But anyway, let's move on. I am super excited about this card, right? But this card's really strong, right? If you think about this in a Raydn build, this card, you drop it, you charge the right card, obviously, gets a +1. Well, you can then banish the card you just... And again, I get it. Boltyn is soul hungry. I get it. But in a Raydn build, he's not as soul hungry, right? Realistically, because you're really... For the most part in Raydn builds, this isn't entirely true because you want a Celestial and all that. But for the most part in Raydn builds, you're working essentially off of what you charge that turn, right? In many cases. I know that's not universally true. A bigger soul is always better. S Boltyn, right? But See how I make myself laugh? I'm an old man. But the point here is that what I can do with this card, yellow, I'm playing red and yellow right now in my list. What you can do with this card is you can charge the right card, banish the card you just charged, and then it's essentially a 2-card hand for 7, 2-card hand for 6 on 2 swings. That's actually pretty decent, right? And it's its own play. You don't need to like do stuff. It's its own thing. I think it's pretty good. I'm positive it's pretty good. And that by the way, that maths if they don't block anything, right? Pretty strong. So I really like Beaming Bravado. It's really, really strong. Right, let's look at the 2 L's together. It's probably not fair to look at them together because they're very different, but I think they're both very, very, very strong for Boltyn. So I openly admit when I saw Iron Sun, so this was shout out to Card Guys, the Card Guys, and Josh Lau. This was their spoiler. Iron Song versus. When I saw this, I was like, this sucks. This isn't better than Braveforge Bracers. And in Dorinthea, I think that's true. In Boltyn, I don't think that's true. Because a lot of times he'll have, again, you're working off a yellow deck. A lot of times he only wants one. In a Raydn, again, build, a lot of times he only needs one, but you're pitching a yellow because you have an S-ton of yellows. That's what you're pitching. So you've got the one floating. You just kind of pump that. Sure, it's on weapon swing, but like, how many times are they're just like, oh, you're swinging Raydn for 3? That's cute, no block. Well, now if you don't no block that, or now if you no block that, you're setting up their potential next turn to automatically have the 1 to soul and go. Oof. Brutal, right? Super good. Super good. And then Resolve is also super hot with what we'll talk about next, which is some of the bannerets for that, you know, again, and this is probably net better. I mean, again, blocking, doing your thing and blocking the damage and getting your soul bigger, always good because Celestial's a thing. Again, not dismissing it, but this is probably net better for like the combo Boltyn thing because you're preventing, right? You're shielding while you're charging and you're doing it. I get it, but this is still really good. So I think you play Resolve. I know a lot of folks have played Tunic with Boltyn, but I think that's just because largely, well, with rated Boltyn, right? Otherwise, you're playing Courage because you want to go all ham, right? Free sword swings for days. But, you know, I think by and large, I think this one, if you're going to do Raydn Boltyn, I think is, and again, I guess that's to my point, is like, this seems better actually with combo Boltyn, but you're running Courage with combo Boltyn anyway, so I think you still play this with, and again, we'll talk about the bannerets right now. So what I have up are the 6 bannerets. So do note that, you know, 3 of these are Majestic, which is, that's a little rough to the average player. I mean, again, they'll probably end up being, what, $4 or $5 cards. So, and then like out of the gate, I don't know, maybe $6 cards out of the gate, and then a couple months they'll be like $1.50. So it's not the end of the world, right? But, you know, you don't need all of them either. So I've got the 6 up right now, and you can see the halos that I put around the 3 that I like the most. But Banneret of Courage, this one, when it's, again, it's used defensively, and it's really only best used defensively. I mean, you don't, actually, that's not true. This is not best used defensively, but when you put in context of the previous one, that's pretty good to use defensively. Obviously, the best one defensively is Banneret of Resilience, right? No duh there. But I don't know that works. And like I said, the 3 that I have haloed are the ones I like the most. Banneret of Courage, like Courage tokens, as we already talked about, are just cray-cray, whatever the kids are saying these days. Gallantry for like Quicken tokens are always fine. No, I'm not fine. Like, they're good. But I don't know that you use up the deck space for this one. Protection, a Spellbane Aegis token, like, probably not, right? Because again, you don't have to use it defensively, but probably not. But Salvation, the one where you gain health, and Banneret of Vigor where you gain resource. And again, to my earlier point, like, do you really need the resource? So again, I acknowledge that one's kind of a 50-50. But those are the 3 that I like. Banneret of Resilience really is a straight play with the legendary, and like, that's basically a full defensive turn. So fine, fair enough. But it's, I think the 3 that I've highlighted, you know, Courage I really like. Courage is really good. Really good. And then Salvation's probably the next best, followed by Vigor. But again, let me know in the comments if you disagree. I totally acknowledge that other folks may have different opinions on all of that. All right, then comes Prayer of Bologna. So this is a really interesting card. When I first read it, I was like, eh. And then I read it kind of a couple days later, and I was like, OMG. And then now I'm kind of like on the fence about it a little bit. But here's why I think it's an include. Okay, so it's a yellow. Now, I've seen a lot of people, not a lot, I've seen a couple of folks publish deck lists that are like the full on like yellow build, and it's like, 9 reds and like 0 blues and the rest yellow, or something to that effect. Not quite that extreme, but you follow what I'm saying. And I think that's maybe a little too deep on that. But to that point, this is a yellow, and it blocks for 3, and it gives you a +2 and a peek at your charge. So if you're running the full-on yellow, or if you're running a heavy yellow package, it's fine, right? And again, it's 1 for a +2, which gives you a guaranteed buff, so you can do the chuck thing on Boltyn's ability. I think you run this card. Again, I'm not super hot on it, but I think you still run the card, right? And in my opinion, I know that this is an interesting comparison, but if you really look at like in terms of card slot competition, because that's what we're at this point, right? Is we have existing decks, and you're trying to upgrade your deck and kind of swap slot, not necessarily slot for slot, because you can change things, but you understand what I'm saying, right? You have an existing deck, you're taking stuff out, you're putting stuff in, it has to be better. I think there's an argument to say that in many cases, this is better than yellow Courage. Courageous Steel Hand is what I mean. Sorry, the +2 attack reaction. I think this one's better. I think. So, I mean, I think, right? So again, let me know in the comments if you disagree. I'm completely open to feedback on that one. All right, next is the red M's. So these are the ones that, these are my, to say they're drops isn't fair, because I think that they still end up in my deck, but I'm really disappointed in these 2 cards, and here's why. They're completely on curve, so their effects are amazing, right? Spirit of War. If yellow charge was charged this way, but I guess that's part of my issue, is this way. So the card specifically has to be charged to those cards, to both of these cards, Beckoning Light and Spirit of War. It has to be charged to them. It can't be a carryover. So if they're both in your hand or whatever, if you have some weird situation, doesn't necessarily stack. But Spirit of War, if it was charged this way whenever an action hits, create a Courage token. Crazy good. We already talked about how good Courage tokens are. No joke, and that's why this goes into your deck. Beckoning Light lets you recycle onto the top of your deck, which you can set stuff up. Again, very, very strong effects. The reason I'm not upset, but the reason I am rubbed the wrong way about these cards is for these to be Majestics, I do feel that they could have been either 0/4s, and I acknowledge why they aren't 0/4s. So I think they should have been yellow, right? And that's really where my head is at on both of these, is with there's so much yellow focus. Why couldn't these, as Majestics, as only have 3 of, why couldn't these have been yellow? I think they should have been. But rant aside, these cards are both very good. I mean, I can't see not running Spirit of War. The card seems like crazy good with the threat of Courage tokens, and then they block, and then that's exactly what you want them to do. The whole thing works. I think they would have been better as yellows, personally, but it is what it is, kids. All right, so next, let's go to United We Stand and Luminalance. So United We Stand, you look at that and you're like, why the heck would I play this? Also, this is under the assumption that if Boltyn is in your party, means you have Boltyn. I think if you're playing, I think it tracks. So let's go into the assumption that it would work with Boltyn. At the point that this video comes out, the release notes will be out, actually, so you can yell at the screen and tell me why I'm a dummy-dumb, but fair enough. So the only reason that this is really on there is as a popper. I think, a utility with popper could totally work. It's a yellow itself. Like yellow 6s are fine. It only blocks for 2 though, but again, you're trying to unity out of it and get your Courage. So fair enough. All right, now let's talk Luminalance, which was arguably one of the early sexy cards, right? When this card came out, everyone's like, oh my god, look what this card does. And because it's, like what's going on, it pulls like Celestial Cataclysm vibes from it, and it makes sense. But if you really, as I've sat on this one more, I don't actually know that this one ends up going into Boltyn. And I know people are throwing stuff at the screen right now because everyone's super excited about this card. I get it, right? But you banish a card for +2, fair enough. You banish a card for when it hits, draw a card. Maybe. And then target light attack gains when this hits against go again. Never using that with Boltyn, right? So at best, this is a 2-card soul banish. I just think with what he's trying to do, like, I'm not trying to be down on it. Like, I know a lot of people are very excited about this card, and like you have every right to be, but I don't see this making the cut in Boltyn personally. So that's my take on that. Another card that I really do like, and this, to be fair, I don't know that this card, Searing Ray, I don't know if this card necessarily makes it into like a CC Boltyn deck. But this card's really fascinating, right? Now, it blocks for 2. So again, that's kind of part of the problem. And specifically, I'm talking about, the card blocks for 2, but specifically, I'm interested in the yellow here because of yellow and all that. But this card's really interesting, right? Because it's kind of like, push the point, right? Kind of those type of vibes. Like it's an above curved card that's not that hard to make work. It comes in with the plus automatically, right? It's not like a 1 for 6. It's a 1 for 4 that becomes 6. So you have the plus. So that works with Boltyn. At the very least, this becomes a commoner card. Like if you want to play Boltyn in commoner, I think you're definitely playing this card. I think there's no doubt in that. And that's kind of why I have it on the bottom. I don't know that just from the sheer cards that are in there, like, are you going to play this over like a Bolt of Courage or one of the other ones, something like that? I think not, right? You do have the new 0-2 yellow. Well, it's a 0-3-2-1 yellow that when you charge, if it hits gain go again, I think the card's completely worthless. I know some people have been excited about that, but I'm not buying it myself. But this card's interesting, right? I mean, for being a common out there, and not all of us out of the gate are going to have the the 0-3 Ms, and it's not a horrible fill-in. Right, last thing I have is the Tisk. So I think the biggest drop, and again, I get it, throw stuff at the screen if you want, but I think the biggest drop overall is, I think the new Fabled is borderline auto-include in Boltyn. And again, it's one of those things where you don't necessarily need it doesn't block, but like the fact that you can always charge this card, not that that's the ideal use of it, the fact that you could always charge this card and like eliminate it if you think you're going to something like weird fatigue matchup, that's pretty cool. This card is pretty bonkers for Boltyn, right? Trying to get that soul up. And again, it's not a charge, right? So I see the pushback on that argument. It's not a charge, I grant you that. But this card's pretty good in terms of like boosting up the soul and trying to, do like a goal wide turn. It's pretty solid. So anyway, that's my take. I'm pretty overall excited about Boltyn and what he can do and all of that. So let me know, folks, what you are thinking if you're excited about Boltyn. Again, happy release day. Have a great time this weekend. I know I'm super focused on Boltyn, but I know a lot of you kids are all focused on those shadows, especially those Levias, all those Levias. So anyway, let me know. Good luck on your polls and if nothing else, folks. Go Commando.